Some mountains in men are bigger than you think. Some rivers so fast, hell, you can't take a drink. Some burdens so heavy, you can't.
Hey folks, Great Northern Prepper here. I want to talk to you about gold. Now, I'm not going to talk about why to buy gold. I'm not going to talk about inflation or any of those types of things or any of the kind of nitty-gritty economic or philosophical reasons to own precious metals. I've expounded on that enough on the site. If you want to find more, you can just go to my site and search for silver or gold, and you'll find a plethora of resources, and I'll provide a few links as well to why I think this way. But today's video is going to be about why I think that you should choose to get silver or get gold as well as silver. Now, on my site, I've talked many times about why you should have silver, why silver's a better buy than gold, etc., because of the historical ratios as well as silver's industrial uses and unrecoverable assets. But today I'm going to talk to you about why gold is also a good thing to have in your preps as far as how your precious metals go. Now, why is that? Now, as you can see, just looking at that, I just go right in here. Let me zoom out a little bit. And I can just pick up this gold eagle right here, or these French francs, or a Swiss franc as well. And as you can see, it's pretty small. Fits right in the palm of my hand. Now, why do I think that gold is also a good thing to have? Well, because it's a more compact, more dense store of your wealth as compared to silver. For example, taking this gold eagle out of the way, just as an example here, we'll put these back in these little slips. And put my ugly old foot right here in the camera. Now, let's just say there's a situation where you need to leave in a hurry and you don't have time to go to the bank, or you don't have time to do multiple trips. Well, I've got about 3/10 of an ounce of gold, give or take, given on the francs, but I slip that in my sock there and I put my shoes on. I'm not saying that that would stand up, and this isn't the best way to try to hide these types of things, because usually in your sock's quite obvious, but this is just more of a educational example more than an exact example of good ways to hide your valuables. I have posts on that as well. But as you can see, you can barely even tell that there's anything in there. Now let's try that with roughly the same amount of silver. And since these are crew socks, they don't work too well. But as you can see, unless someone takes me for someone with tumors or something like that growing in my leg, they're not quite going to believe that. So what's my point here? And actually, for the same amount as that gold eagle, we're going to actually need even more of this. And this is pre-64 silver, FYI. So what's my whole point here? Well, my whole point is not to downplay silver. Not because I don't think that silver is a good buy. I think overall silver is a better buy, given its historical ratios. But as you can see in just that kind of easy and quick example, silver, or gold I mean, is a much better overall dense store of your wealth. Now what does that mean? That basically means is that gold, per pound for pound or ounce for ounce, has a lot more value to it than silver will. And if you can just look at that, you can see the difference. And that silver doesn't even come close to equaling the value of all that gold right there. So, Now, what does this mean? It means that you can take a relatively small object and have an incredible store of wealth if you need to leave. I heard, I think I was listening to the Survival podcast about a gentleman who talked about how he decided to invest more in gold because he could hide them in belt buckles and he could bring a large amount of wealth with him and his family because their plan was to actually leave the country. I don't really recommend that plan, but, you know, to each their own if that's what they feel is the best. Now, that's, you know, taking the decision that I disagree with to the decision that I do agree with is, yeah, with a belt buckle or something along those lines or anything like that. I mean, hiding it in the bottom of a, you know, putting 2 or 3 of these in the you know, 10th ounce coins roughly in a thing of talcum powder or shampoo. I would really recommend, if you're going to hide them in bottles like that, not necessarily something that's powdery where if you shook it you can kind of hear something rattling around there. That talcum powder does not make that noise. I would put it in something thicker like shampoo, cans of oil, things like that that are of a heavier liquid, so if they're shook you won't hear the tink tink of it hitting. And something small like that, as it's coming to rest, is not going to make as much of a noise as something like this. And that was the thing of silver. And this is a pretty good way to store your wealth if you ever need to get out of the you know, wherever you're at, even if it's just over to the next town and you have a chance just to grab something real quick. Just grabbing a few of your gold pieces, although they're not divisible as easily as silver is, it's still better than nothing. And grabbing this right here versus grabbing that right there, you're going to have much more wealth and you can do whatever you need to get something out of it. So I really think that having some gold in your preps is good as well, even as an investment measure as well, if you want to look at it in that way. But having a, you know, especially if weight is an issue, if you're only doing one trip and especially on foot, that's something that you could take a vast amount of your personal wealth that you've saved and you've worked for with you versus a smaller amount in a larger package. So that's the reason I don't think that you should go 50-50 or anything like that, but you know, having a little bit of gold would be a pretty smart measure, I think. That's just my personal opinion. This is not necessarily, I'm not talking about, even though I mentioned the word investment, I'm not talking about investment in the in what's kind of commonly understood as investing. I'm talking about investing in your future and investing in a real sense of the word. And despite what people may say about their, you know, some future post-collapse society no longer recognizing historical items of wealth, I think is short-sighted. You can choose to do that if you want, but it's unfortunately history's not on your side. It's possible, but I look at it as investing in my future and not investing as in I'm buying Cisco stock to sell tomorrow when it goes up 20% and now I can, you know, go on my trip to Aruba with my family. I'm talking about actually investing in your literal future, as in your survival. And that's what this is about. This is not about the short-term gains. It's not about April to June, you know, losing 30 or 40 or 50% or whatever of the, you know, I'm not talking about these. I'm talking about long-term future outlook. Now is a great time to buy, by the way, being July, what is it now, July 11th, 2013. I think if you look back at this video in about 2 years, you'll say, yeah, it was. So, anyways, this is a quick video from the Great Northern Prepper. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Comment below. Go to the main site at greatnorthernprepper.com. And thanks again.
I wore out my shoes in that wrong way to run. I blistered my skin working hard in the sun. Supper's almost over and I done cleaned my plate, and there's a light shining yonder, boys, I don't think I'll wait. I'm a laid back one and I've been one so long. I ain't perfect, you can tell by my songs. Brothers, forgive me for all of my wrongs. The good Lord, He's calling and it's time to go home. I hear 'em calling and it's time to go home.